In this movie, I'm going to show you how to align the center of a shape to an unspecified location. This is a very helpful trick, the kind of thing you do all the time inside of Illustrator. But to correctly understand what I'm talking about, I need to set things up a little bit. I've saved my progress as 2roundedrectangles.ai. I'm zoomed in on the left side of these ellipses. And using my black arrow tool, I'm going to partially marquee these ellipses so that I select just the ellipses and nothing more. Notice this anchor point right there, which is the leftmost anchor point in the largest ellipse. And next door here is the leftmost anchor point in the next ellipse inward. I want to align these rounded rectangles, the center of these two rectangles, at precisely this location. So in other words, midway between these two anchor points. Problem is, there is nothing identifying that location. There is no center point I can assign there. There is no anchor point. There is no anything. There is no automatic alignment function that's going to make that happen. So what in the world do you do? And you can imagine this is the kind of thing you might want to do a lot. Well, we'll start things off by aligning the rounded rectangles themselves. So make sure, if you're working along with me, that Smart Guides is turned on here inside the View menu. If not, go ahead and choose the command. And then I'm going to click on the path outline of the smaller of the two rounded rectangles. I can see the center point. I'll go ahead and drag the shape by its center point until I see the word center right there. And that tells me that I'm aligning to the center of the larger shape. So you just want to drag one center point into the other. And it's easiest to do when you have Smart Guides turned on. As soon as you see the word center there, go ahead and release, and you've got two aligned shapes. All right, now what you want to do is partially marquee those two rounded rectangles so that they're both selected. They share a common center point at this point. Now comes the tricky part. We want to drag that center point until we find that point along the edge. Seeing all this kind of good, Smart Guide action going on here. So that indicates to me that I've made it work. However, just to make sure, I'm going to partially marquee the ellipses again, and I can see I'm off. I'm looking for this point right there. All right, so I'll try again. I know it's just a little higher than where I am, so I'll go ahead and marquee the ellipses again and drag it up until I get this intersection. That looks like it's going to work to me. So now I'll marquee the ellipses again. Sure enough, I got it. Okay, now I want to go down to this point. So in other words, I'm going to move the centers of the shapes from this anchor point along the outer ellipse to this anchor point along the inner ellipse. And I can see that it's about yay far down, which is very important to bear in mind. I mean, this is the way you work inside the program all the time. So I'm going to go ahead and marquee these two shapes once again, grab the center point, go about yay down until I get some sort of intersection information here from my Smart Guides to tell me that I'm probably in the right place. It looks like that's going to be about right. So I'll go ahead and release the shapes in that new location, and then I'll marquee the ellipses again, and sure enough, that looks like a good match. All right, now what do you do? So basically, I told Illustrator to align the centers to one location, and then I told Illustrator to align the center points to another location, and now I want to split the difference. Exactly. Here's how. Go ahead and partially marquee the rounded rectangles again to select them. Basically, what's happening here is that Illustrator is always recording your last transformation. And I mentioned earlier that transformations in Illustrator include things like scaling and rotating, but it also includes moving. So anytime you move an object, you're transforming it. And that information is tracked by the black arrow tool. So if you want to see the information, you double-click on the black arrow tool to bring up the Move dialog box. Now, this dialog box allows you to perform any numerical movement you want to. However, it also tracks the last movement. So what it's telling me is just that last time I moved from one anchor point to another along the ellipses, I went ahead and moved the rounded rectangles 20.842.8 points, whatever, horizontally, that is to the right, and then vertically 15.8096 points downward. So any positive value is going to be either to the right or downward. Any negative value is going to be either to the left or upward. And that's just the way it works inside the program. So what we want to do to split the difference is change each one of these values, both the horizontal value and the vertical value, to negative, like so. And then if you turn on the preview checkbox, you'll see that the rounded rectangles jump back to their previous position. Here's the trick. Now what you want to do is add a /2 after the horizontal value, and then add a /2 after the vertical value, and you split the exact difference between those two anchor points. Then click OK, and you have those rectangles exactly aligned in place. All right, one more thing I want to do. I'm going to press Control-0 or Command-0 on the Mac in order to center my illustration. I need to take these two shapes and reflect them onto the other side of the ellipses. And I'll show you how to do exactly that in the next movie.